It's 5. We're live. Welcome to Frankly Speaking, where truth is our mission, reality our realm, said as we see it, and frankly as well. I'm Joe Spina, and guess what? Right on time, Paul Crowley has made it to a seat within 15 seconds of startup time. And we have the sages, the whole complement. Avram, glad to have you back.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Ralph, I'm not sure about you. And Malcolm, I like you without your beard. I mean, Santa Claus is gone.
Yeah, you look very distinguished.
You guys are all looking
Gotta get a mustache.
Clean shaven, yeah. And then we have the Adolf over here. So, folks, before we even get started, we'd like to throw up a little promo for yours truly, Joe Spina. Over the Top is a new podcast with myself and Bill Newell. You can tune into it on MSONewsSports.com, and you go to the search engine and put in Over the Top. By the way, thank you. The title came from the Jewish kid over here, and it works well. So tune into it. It's there, and let us know how you feel about it. That's pretty much that part. Now, let's get to the genesis of the show.
And
Yes.
best of luck to you with it.
Well, thank you. Frankly, Joe. I don't even know what I'm saying on Frankly Joe here. Few outlets are covering the potential health hazards of 5G technology. Frankly Speaking has and is. Now it's hit home. Here in Lynn, take notice. Crown Castle has more than 400,000 cell towers across the United States, and a bunch of them are in Lynn. So it was that Crown Castle wanted to install larger transmission equipment in several Lynn neighborhoods, as well as modifying existing base stations on utility poles. Nevertheless, of concern, however, but it needed council approval. Of concern was the possible negative effects of the magnetic radiation emitted from cell towers. Nevertheless, the city's attorneys, fearful that Crown Castle would take the city to court if it didn't approve the modifications, advised the city council to vote in favor of Crown Castle. So they did. I have a problem with that, Paul.
So, is this upgrade for the 5G technology?
No, it's a
No.
prerequisite to 5G. It's an upgrade to 4G.
Why would the attorney tell them that they should sign on the dotted line?
That's a heck of a question.
They were afraid of lawsuits. I listened to it. And,
What kind of lawsuits?
They told them that they were going to take the city to court if they did not allow it.
Very simple question, folks. Whose responsibility it is to approve or disapprove? What is that, Paul?
It's up to the council, right? Paul?
Yeah. So
Based
why
on
would they
the
listen to the
advice
lawyer?
of their lawyers.
Well, the lawyers didn't
Lawyers,
give
that's what they
advice.
do, they give advice.
The lawyers apparently, according to the article, were definitive. They said you must. They didn't say we advise. They said you must approve, or they're going to take you to court. My point is, why can't you just say, okay, take us to court?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
The thing is if they say you must approve, why even bring the subject up?
Who?
why does it even need to be
Why
voted
does
if
it
you don't
have
have
to be
any choice?
discussed?
Right?
If you have no choice in
Right,
the
that's a
matter,
good point.
why even discuss it in subcommittee or even before the city council?
When Joe first brought this up, I thought it was kind of nonsense. I thought he was in another world like flying saucers. But after listening to the testimony on this channel, on this very channel last week, the subcommittee, they had a gentleman go up and he's getting headaches from his is right outside.
You're talking about Paul Theo.
Paul Theo, he's getting headaches every day from it. And when he goes to Vermont, I guess he also has a place in Vermont, he doesn't get those headaches.
Okay, let
And
me
it's very
stop you for a
severe,
second.
And I believe the guy, he's a very good testimony.
Fine. Let me stop you for a second because I want to put this graphic up there about.
But why couldn't it be global warming causing?
There's no such thing
No,
as
because
global.
global warming is a
He's
fallacy.
living next door. Paul, he's living next door to a tower.
Right. Very close.
I understand.
Yeah.
But there may be,
But
anecdotal
then again,
evidence
Paul,
that it's happening.
when he
but
went to
there's no
Vermont,
proof.
apparently he doesn't have the
It
symptoms.
goes away when he goes to
So global
Vermont.
warming would be consistent with Vermont
So
and any
kids
place
are getting horns that are growing out of their heads right now.
from a different reason. For
Right,
different reasons.
but I mean, it's just, we're a very complex creature, and we will continue to evolve.
Well, let me get to this first. I disagree with your point. Actually, I think it's irrational, but that's beside the point. I'm kidding. Crown Castle is America's largest provider of shared communication infrastructure with more than 40,000 cell towers and approximately 70,000 route miles of fiber supporting small cells and fiber solutions across every major U.S. market. Now that's who they are. Now I'm going to throw up a little thing, then you can comment on it. I'm going to throw up a little clip. It's about 4 minutes long, it's rather long, and it's going to talk about something that we talked about here that no one else is talking about, and that's the potential dangers, health hazards of 5G technology, Paul, which is what this is all about. This is to upgrade to 5G downstream. That's what they want to do. So it's far more powerful emission of rays, and we'll find out what happens. Put on that little video and for comment.
AT&T is the nation's fastest 3G network, so you can download faster on your smartphone than Verizon.
With 4G from Sprint, I can download files up to 10 times faster than 3G.
Upload 10 photos in a minute. Verizon 4G LTE.
Get ready for more ads like those. The wireless industry is in a race to roll out 5G service. Now, 5G is supposed to be up to 100 times faster than current data speeds. Could have used it on Amtrak yesterday. But it requires cell phone tower equipment to be closer to users than ever before. And that is causing outrage and alarm in some neighborhoods as antennas go up around the homes. Tony DeCopel is here with both sides of the conversation. Tony, lots of chatter about this. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. There's outrage, but there's also excitement. I mean, 100 times faster. But get this, wireless companies in the U.S. say they'll have to install about 300,000 new antennas for the rollout of 5G. That is roughly equal to the total number of cell phone towers built over the past 3 decades. The faster network could create new potential for work and play, but it's also leading to new concerns.
Go. At a lab in New York, Verizon invited us to meet some of the entrepreneurs developing tools to run on the next generation of wireless technology.
How important is 5G to your mission?
5G is extremely important.
Jonathan Reeves demonstrated his product, Arvisio.
As you move around, the object stays fixed in space.
Look at that. That's amazing.
Allowing users in different locations to interact with 3D images projected through a lens.
Today we can do this using Wi-Fi technology, and we can do it using landline technology, but of course you're then tied to particular locations. With 5G now we can begin to extend this, so we can actually begin to start doing this on building sites. We can start doing it on the factory floor. So it really opens up a whole new world.
But before this world can become reality, this one needs to change. 5G requires the installation of new equipment across the U.S.
So this pole here is 5G. This is the future right here.
You got it.
Every wireless company is working to build its own 5G network. Melissa Arnoldi leads AT&T's efforts.
If you don't already have one of these in your neighborhood, they're coming.
That's absolutely right. They're coming.
She says 5G uses high-frequency waves that support faster speeds, but don't travel as far as current wireless frequencies. So instead of relying on large cell phone towers spread far apart, they need small cell sites that are much closer together.
We're going to use our existing infrastructure today, whether it's light poles, whether it's street lights. We're going to make sure that we don't make it obtrusive to our customers and to the citizens.
Yet some don't share the enthusiasm.
The cell towers are called small cell towers, but they're not so small when they're in your front yard.
Donna Barron is protesting plans to convert light poles in her Montgomery County, Maryland neighborhood into small cell sites.
This will cause cancer.
She was one of several people who raised health concerns at a government hearing last month.
This stuff is untested on kids. Their safety is not certain. These untested technologies are, at this time, not ready to be unleashed into our lives.
Cell phone equipment emits radiation, but research on its health effects has been inconsistent. According to the National Cancer Institute, a limited number of studies have shown some evidence of statistical association of cell phone use and brain tumor risks. But most studies have found no association.
If you lose this fight and a pole goes in right here, are you going to move?
Possibly.
Either way, Barron says she fears property values could plummet when 5G equipment pops up.
If a tower goes up right there, what's going to happen to the value of that home?
It could drop 20%.
And not only for this house.
Right, for that house, that house, that house. And then pretty soon you go around the curve and there's another cell tower. They're all through this neighborhood. So it's going to devastate the neighborhood.
Arnoldi insists her workers are focused on safety, pointing out they live and work near this equipment too.
Do you have any 5G antennae in your neighborhood yet?
No, not yet. I'm waiting for it. It's coming soon, though. It's coming soon.
So I'm guessing from that reaction, then you're very comfortable with it rolling out in your neck of the woods.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Well, I
What the hell is she supposed to say? She works for them.
no kidding.
I think it's a serious problem. After listening to Paul Theo's testimony, I really believe he's hurting. I really believe he's got headaches, and it has to be from that because from this.
How do you know he doesn't have mold in his basement?
But when he goes to
I mean, I'm just saying. I'm not trying to criticize the guy. My point is that it's really unclear. But I will say that they talked about the different studies. Some studies say that there's no association, and some say there is. The ones that there's no association are the ones that are financed by the telephone companies.
Right.
And
What's interesting, Paul, is that everybody talks about good science and bad science, right? But it's confirmation science as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
So global warming, you can make the counter arguments. Everything you're saying, I could say, take a different position from those people who believe in climate change and global warming, right?
Right.
But there is some evidence of it happening. I'm saying there's some evidence of this happening. At least the city council should have been prudent enough to have listened to the folks in order to make a determination. I'm not saying it's necessarily correlated, but it's worth a pause.
And you don't know. Plus the fact, what's it, 30-odd years ago when they first came out with microwave ovens, they said it's going to cause cancer.
Right.
Has it? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Microwave ovens emit a certain amount of radiation.
Because they're saying you're zapping a baked potato with radiation.
I have replaced microwave ovens in my home because you can test to see if they do have radiation leaks. And
radiation leaks would be different, though, than just like through the ordinary.
All you need is an AM radio.
Let me give the phone number here. 781-780-9464. Wait 1 second. Question is this, is that throughout, no matter what new things are coming out, there's always a downside. There's always a contrarian. People said we weren't intended to fly, so getting up in an airplane is a bad thing, right? Or we weren't intended to be fish, so going in a submarine is going to have ill effects. Hasn't happened, has it?
Well, I mean, you know, and look, some of these arguments, I mean, that woman, she sounded like she knew exactly how much the property values were going to drop on her house if that pole went up.
She looked to me, Jewish, and she knows what the hell she's talking about, okay?
No, but think about it, right?
Unless it was
if they
Barron.
put it up throughout the country, is it going to matter where you live?
We have no idea.
The question comes, should the city council be able to say no? And I think they should be able to say no.
That's the net bottom line is giving a fair airing of the issue as opposed to allowing a company to come in unabated with no
that's what
discussion.
happened.
That's right. That's the whole issue. The issue is, for me,
that's ridiculous.
The issue for me is that there has to be a better conversation before we make decisions like that. That's all. That a company can't come in, nilly-willy, and say, this is what we're going to do, and the city council twiddles its thumbs, and then turns around and says, oh, we were forced against the wall because of what the lawyers said.
They should have a full public hearing at the council meeting, not only in the...
Well, that's actually what they were doing. That's what that was all about. It was a public hearing.
That was at a subcommittee
What was
meeting.
a public hearing?
Subcommittee meeting.
And it will ultimately, in order for the city to approve those things, they have to have a public hearing.
You sure?
Yes, absolutely.
But the lawyers said that Markopolis and companies said you cannot vote against. So where was the public hearing, Paul?
Well,
did they have a public hearing to say,
that guy
we're not going to vote?
spoke, right?
He's very good.
He spoke opposed
He's one of the best speakers I've ever heard.
No, that was in an interview. Was that an interview or was it in the subcommittee meeting?
It was in the subcommittee meeting.
So it never got out of subcommittee, did it?
No, it isn't out of subcommittee.
It died in subcommittee?
No.
It probably hasn't been voted on yet. They probably set it down that night, and the next time around they'll vote.
We got to move on.
So can I just throw something out? You know, one of the things that I'm a tin hat kind of guy, but the bigger issue that I have with all those towers is privacy.
Meaning?
I think that 5G gives them the ability to gain greater access and control over
into your computer and into your banking information.
They have that right now
Person of
already.
Interest? You ever watched that show, Person
But
of
they got
Interest?
it now already.
I know, but this just makes it that much easier for them to do, I think.
So you're talking about Big Brother. That's what you're talking about.
Oh, what they're saying is also you're watching TV and your TV is watching you.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Huxley wrote about this. In fact, Fahrenheit 452 was back in 1950, wasn't it? Well, they wrote
451, the burning point of paper.
Right. Yeah. So the point being is they've been writing about this, and Spengler said this prior to World War I, that we're moving toward this one world society, which this show, frankly speaking, is trying to tell those folks out there, beware of the consequences. That's all. Yep. If you want to go that way, be my guest. I'm not going to be around. I feel bad for my grandkids, but the point of the matter is that, Paul, you make a point. You know, surveillance, otherwise known as spying, you know, play on words, right, is happening. You have everybody knows everything about me.
For a long time it's been going on, not just now.
Of course. And is it good? Who knows? Poll. Let's put the poll up there. Talk about intrusions. The poll for this week is, do you favor the ban of all flavored nicotine and tobacco products being sold in retail stores? I repeat, do you favor the ban of all flavored nicotine and tobacco products being sold in retail stores? I find that, again, offensive.
Well, they were banned. Weren't they banned this week or last week?
The Board of Health on 3-1 vote.
But you haven't talked about how that happened. That was done by 3 people on the Board of Health, right?
Unelected people. That's what bothers really.
So why didn't that go to the City Council, Paul? That's a dodge, is it not?
The City Council has created a lot of dodges, including the zoning board.
Yeah. Okay, we got a note for Paul to read over.
Right.
Anyways.
You can read it if you want. Yeah. Read it on the
So the point being is that this should also go before the City Council to vote it up and down, so that those individuals that have a dissenting view are on record.
Right. I imagine that from state law they derive this power, but I have to look up the law. I don't understand why it doesn't go before a vote of elected officials. I mean, what can they ban next? You know, they banned the plastic, and now they're banning this. And then what are they going to ban? They're going to ban. I know they want to ban soda, and they want to ban candy. I know they do.
Yeah.
Candy?
And that's going to be banned. This candy is going to be banned.
But it's okay, by the way, to smoke pot, right? But it's okay to smoke pot. I mean, this is unbelievable. Right. So what we do is we pick and choose, don't we? We pick and choose what addictions are okay. Pretty soon you're going to be able to buy a sex doll. That's going to be fine, okay?
That'll be okay, but you won't be able to buy candy.
How much are they going to cost?
Are you interested?
No, please.
But anyways, folks, that's our poll for the week. Last week's poll was fascinating, by the way. Look at this here, Paulie. 71% said they favored the deportations of millions of illegal immigrants. Coming from a city that has so many illegal immigrants, that's surprising.
Well, that's why they said it.
Maybe that's a good point. I thought of it. Yeah.
And I heard you say on the show last week, if you forgive me, because I happened to watch the show, and all of you looked very good.
Thank you.
But that being said, you said, how can we possibly take the people who are here now and get them out of here? Very simple. Cut them off from all services. The kids can't get education. They don't belong here. We should get them out of here.
Right, but so while I believe that if you took that draconian approach,
draconian,
great,
okay, by whose standards?
It probably could happen. My theory is that while certainly they're responsible for their own actions, they made the decision to come here illegally in the first place, right? But we as a society, as our government officials, because of the unwillingness to, or their fear of doing the right thing, allowed it to happen. So we as a society bear some of the responsibility for them being here. And I'm just saying, why don't we just give them some type of legal status without giving them the right to vote and move on, along with shutting down the
But
board.
they're getting government benefits. They're bankrupting us. That's the problem. It's not that they're just hanging out here and helping us out. We're helping them out.
Well, we can put them to work too, right?
Yes and no.
Here's the sad part. There is an image, and I don't care who you are, you cannot help but feel bad about a father and a young child drowned in a river trying to get there.
That's beyond
That
belief.
is so tragic, and that is so, that's wrenching. But that clouds the issue.
And
because if the politicians, like you said, Paul, didn't make it inviting,
They had some nerve and did what was right.
that wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Exactly.
Instead, they try to put it on Donald Trump.
And now they're making it into a political issue. The kid and the father are now going to go down in history as the ones that drowned coming to this country.
See, they come here because as soon as they get over the border, if they say asylum, they have to be held here for a court hearing. That's the whole problem with
But that's
the law.
the law that has
That's
to be
the law.
changed.
And there's a
Who
3-year
refuses to
waiting.
do that, by the way?
Democrats.
Exactly.
Democrats.
Why do they refuse to do it?
Because they vote for them, that's why.
So it's all a matter of control and power.
Absolutely.
All right? So let's be upfront about it. Once there were 2, and then there were none. So Union Hospital and Lynn Hospital, well, apparently, as of October, whatever was the remnants of Union Hospital is gone
emergency room.
prematurely, because that was supposed to be carried on until the spring. Is that correct?
Yeah.
They hasten the
today.
transition.
But no one asked the
I'll
critical...
bet you that was pre-planned too.
Of course it was. But, you know, folks, our number here is 781-780-9460. But the question becomes, why don't we have 2 hospitals? Nobody asked that question.
Because they're not
What
making
is
money.
it about a city approaching 100,000 people that's unheard of to have no hospitals?
Can I answer that question?
'Cause our people don't
Because the majority of people who were going in there could not pay.
That's exactly right. You stumble onto the truth.
Thank you.
Part of this is because of Obamacare. When Obamacare came in, we forget that they took out over $1 billion out of Medicare payments. And they thought they had to start to downsize.
Trillion.
$1 trillion out of Medicare payments.
Over 10
and
years.
that's the reason why we've got this community thing down the street here, this health thing down the street.
health center.
They put that in, knowing that the Union Hospital was going. They knew this was all planned. And when they asked at the city council meeting, when they asked the CEO of Partners, why is this happening? He said the government. In other words, he was trying to say it was because of Medicare. The Medicare payments are going down, and this was because of Clinton.
Well, let me ask you this.
Absolutely.
Since Paul was born, as you folks out there should know, in the frozen food section of Stop and Shop, way back when, this preceded what you're talking about.
Right.
Lynn Hospital went by the boards prior to. So this is not something that just happened, poof, out of the air. I think it happened because exactly what Avram is talking about. We first lost maternity. Nobody was being born in Lynn. And the reason for it being is nobody was getting paid. Am I right?
Yeah.
So the hospitals made a decision. We're losing our shirt, so let's get out of here.
Well, they're getting paid, but not enough, because in this state now.
But if the government turns around and gives you you know what the doctors say? If you paid us, or hospitals in this country, if they got paid according to what the government allows for procedures, they'd all shut down. They'd all lose money.
They get when I got my bill, my Medicare stuff from
Your bill? You didn't have to pay it,
It
did
wasn't
you?
my bill. I didn't pay.
Yeah.
But it was almost $50,000 for my operation.
Whoa.
Medicare paid just about all of it. All right.
Wow.
And when I got the bills for the radiation, Medicare only paid about a third of it.
So you have to pay
it's different.
2/3 of it?
How old are you?
Yeah, I told them to send them to you because you're the richest guy. I know.
Wait, are you on the hook for 2/3 of that bill or
No,
not?
no, I get-
Okay.
I get-
So in effect, you're not paying anything?
No, I'm not.
So who's that guy, Rahm Emanuel's brother?
Yeah, Ezekiel.
Ezekiel Emanuel. He said that once you reach 75, you shouldn't be allowed to get health insurance.
Well, he's still got a few years left.
Well, he's a gifted genius.
Right. And he's comfortable with checking out at 75.
Good luck to him.
I'm not, by the way. I'm not.
Death panels. Remember the death
Yeah.
panels?
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
That's essentially what he's talking about.
Death panels.
All right, so
Why should you get a new knee,
I know,
have
really.
a knee surgery
Right.
if you're that old? You can't run anymore. You don't need a knee.
It makes sense.
If I was 10 years older, would they have operated on me? I don't think so.
well, let me get to a point. I'm sorry.
My wife went in for dual hip replacements.
Yeah.
And before she went in, the question they asked her is, are you on Social Security? Which would have meant that she would be covered under Medicare. She asked them, she said, no, I'm part of the General Electric insurance plan, which I had at the time. And she said, why would you ask that? And it was because of the amount of money that they would get from Medicare. They would get practically nothing from Medicare, but they would have to do the procedure.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Prior to the show, you brought up a point about, and I hadn't factored into the show, about I'm not Reagan. I must be tired, folks. About Trump, who turned around and put an executive order in. And what was it about now?
This is the greatest thing since actually coming up with new health care. I was giving the example, when you have someone come down to paint your house, you ask them how much it's going to be, they tell you what it's going to cost. You want new carpeting for your house, you go to a carpeting store, you tell them how many square feet, they tell you how much it's going to cost. You go to a hospital to have your hip replaced, they never tell you anything. You just have it done, and 2 weeks later you get a bill, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
He says from here on in, that's not going to be. When you go into a hospital and they have to tell you exactly to the last penny
They have
what
to show
this
you a
is going to
menu,
cost.
basically.
And number two, which we never knew, you know, they regulate banks. They need to regulate insurance companies because they're the biggest whores going on the street right now.
That's right.
Okay, they are. And a doctor who gets, let's say, $10,000 for open heart surgery has to fight with the insurance company because the insurance company says, we're not paying you $10,000, we'll give you $5,000. But the extra money that they saved, they should pass off to the customer.
Right.
They don't want to do that. That's why they don't like this new executive order, but it's been passed and it goes into effect the 1st of January. Thank you, Donald Trump.
But Blue Cross and Blue Shield does pay more than Medicare, I believe.
I don't know.
I believe.
It depends on what plan you have.
It depends.
But this is amazing.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean,
But why isn't the press picked up on it?
Because
why would they want to say anything that's going to make Donald Trump
and
look
why
like-
did he do an executive order? Because he knew in Congress it wouldn't be passed.
Right.
Yeah.
But so the question is it appropriate as an executive order as well?
Absolutely.
Right? It's not as simple as, you know, if I can't get it through Congress, I'm going to just
What about
do it by feel.
what about the concept in itself?
I think it's
Let's
good.
put everything aside. Let's talk about conceptually.
So-
The issue is insurance, not health care.
Yeah.
It's never been about health care.
The big problem is that the payer and the beneficiary of the service are different people, right? The payer is the insurance company, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever. The beneficiary is the individual, right? That's essentially why it's always been obscured. It's never really mattered to the individual how much it costs because they don't have to pay.
It's not obscured, it's absolutely hidden.
Right. Right, and that's what they need to change, and I'm glad
It's
that they've
being
made that.
changed.
And let me just give you an example of how we've been able to do this where I work. So we're self-insured, and we've been trying to figure out ways to incentivize our employees to be more interested or concerned about how much procedures cost before they elect to do them.
You talk about Glissa self-insured?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, as an example, so I broke my thumb last September playing basketball, and my first step was to go to the urgent care because I didn't want to go to the emergency room. That's the normal way. It costs way too much money. So I go to urgent care, the guy looks at it, takes an x-ray, and says, oh, that's broken. You've got to go to see the guy. So he sends me off to, a specialist at where was it? At North Shore Medical Center or is it Partners in Danvers. So I'm on my way over there. I call Human Resources and I say, is this doctor covered under my plan? Yeah. And she said, let me check. And she called me back. She says, you'll be fine. The doctor covers it, no problem. I didn't realize that I could have said, I don't want the doctor to take care of me in Partners. I want him to take care of me at Beverly Hospital. If he took care of me at Beverly Hospital instead of Partners, I would have saved, the money would have been half in terms of the cost of the surgery itself.
How do you know that?
Because we know how much it costs to go to Beverly Hospital for the surgery versus, and this guy has privileges in both hospitals.
But isn't that exactly what Donald Trump is trying to get to?
And that's what we're trying to do at a local level. We're trying to get, so when I realized, so look, I was interested in how much it was going to affect me. It wasn't going to cost me anything because the doctor was in my plan. But what I didn't know is that my employer, Glitz, was going to have to pay for the Partners cost instead of the Beverly Hospital cost, which was significantly higher. Had I expressed interest or been interested in making sure that Glitz paid as little as possible, I would have said, yes, I want this doctor, but I want it done over here. And we would have saved money. And that's the kind of thinking
But isn't
that has
that precisely
Yes.
what Donald Trump's trying to do?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
but
the
that's
long and the short of
yeah,
it
but that's
is...
because of you. But you take the average guy on the street, he can't do that.
No, I'm right. But
That's
so
the
anything
point.
that you can do to encourage that should be done.
Well,
is my point.
you are the director of an agency, and you didn't even know about it.
Right.
So what's that tell you about these folks out here knowing about what their options are?
Right, so more and more you need to peel back the onion so we can know how to handle this.
But this was an emergency. You really have not much of a choice.
No, it wasn't an emergency. I just had to go see him. He put me in the thing, and I had the surgery a week
We'll
later.
get to the medical stuff because we got to move on. Because he who would be president has a little ad since he wasn't up on the stage last night.
He's your favorite
He
guy.
who would be president. You see this guy?
Yeah.
So we're going to play his little ad because he couldn't make the cut in Miami. That speaks
So what are you
Spanish either.
promoting this guy or what?
You seem to really like this
Let's get
guy,
that little
Joe.
ad
I
up
don't know,
there.
what's going on?
In lieu of.
I won't be on the debate stage tonight, so I'm introducing myself here. I served 4 combat tours in Iraq, a war I spoke out against. I'm progressive, I'm practical, and I can beat Donald Trump. We all know what a terrible person Trump is. What we need to talk about is what a terrible president he is. At home, he's tried to take away health care from millions, and his trade wars are bankrupting our farmers and factories. Abroad, our allies are more worried about America than our enemies, and globally, he's destroyed progress on the defining challenge of our time, climate change. Our next president must be able to bring the country together and win this election, because the stakes are too high. It's time for the generation that fought in Iraq to step in, and it's time for the generation that sent us there to step aside. It's time for a new generation of leadership. I'm Seth Moulton, and I approve this message.
4 Pinocchios.
But right.
I see him
5
everywhere.
Pinocchios.
Joe, I think you have a man crush on this guy.
Well, but the thing of it is, that is anywhere at least a $5 million expense, what you just saw. That whoever picked up the tab for that, and I don't know, that was not a cheap ad.
Right.
Oh,
Where's he getting that kind of money?
the establishment loves this guy.
Yeah, they do.
Okay?
He's got some
Don't
hefty
sell
backing.
him short, even though he didn't make the stage.
Because
Let me-
if he can win New Hampshire, everything changes.
Exactly, and he's abuts New Hampshire. If he finishes credibly in
He's got
New Hampshire.
Elizabeth Warren to contend with, though. She's
Yeah.
Pocahontas
formidable.
isn't
She's
gonna make it.
she's the flavor of the day right now. But here's the thing about him. I would like to take a look at all of his firearms that he had while he was in Iraq, and I would almost bet that none of them were ever fired.
He was in the rear echelon, for sure.
He was in the studio doing a program
That's what I
like
mean.
this called Muhammad and Moulton. So this stuff that he was a combat officer, as if he was a ranger jumping from airplanes, is a stroke
Yeah, he
of
lived in the
just
green
like the
zone.
business that he claimed he had that didn't exist. So this is an embellishment. And by the way, why would anybody vote for him? He was saying, didn't he paint a terrible picture of the country under Trump? And it's the exact opposite?
He actually said a direct quote on a national news TV, I would not want my daughter raised in this
Exactly.
country. Let's send him and his family a one-way ticket to Guatemala and have them tell them they can't come over the wall.
Where were these farmers going bankrupt, by the way, he was talking about?
Yeah,
I never heard of that.
What bankrupt?
He said
He said farmers going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Where is that happening?
because of the tariffs, which is, I mean, they just make the stuff up as they go.
Well, yeah.
Just make it up as they go.
And speaking of making things up as they go, last night, if we throw up the first Democratic debate,
Throw up is a good word there.
Yeah.
any case, I pirated this from Drudge Report this morning, and they talked about immigration clashes, which I don't see. Did anybody of you guys watch it?
I watched it.
Was there any clash on
it's
immigration?
2 hours of my life that I'll never get back.
Yeah, that's.
For this show, I go through such torture. I had to watch that stupid
And
thing
didn't
for
I
2
tell
hours.
you that Biden is a little...
I didn't watch it at all.
And
Yeah, he's still touting Biden. They're going to go after him, by the way.
It doesn't matter. He's going to get the nomination.
Why did they hand deliver it to? Last night they bent over backwards to feature Elizabeth Warren.
And she looked so terrible.
Really? I mean, it was
She
so
got center
obvious.
stage, yeah.
It's so obvious. Anyway,
She looked like
I
from
was
the Wizard
thrilled.
of Oz, the witch.
Are they trying to, so the media, they try to target the candidates and support the ones that they like. Of course.
Wasn't that obvious?
Yeah.
All right.
And
So
they
Elizabeth
love Warren.
And then they
Warren,
all attack
Beto,
Beto.
and
Yeah.
Cory Booker were their three favorites, right?
Warren, I thought did terrible myself. I
Who?
mean, both from content and
I'm not saying that. Do you think that the moderators and NBC
Right.
were trying to promote Elizabeth Warren, Booker,
Yes.
and
Well,
She was
That's
also the one
that-
that had the last say.
That's so simple
over
to
the
tell because
debate.
they asked them the most amount of questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know who actually had the most speaking time? Booker,
Right.
followed by Elizabeth
But I'll
Warren.
tell you who actually held, he didn't embarrass himself, was the mayor of New York.
I agree. You know, and I don't agree with his politics, but he did a nice job.
Right.
He really did. And so did the kid from Castro, his secretary.
I wanted
Yes.
to ask him, is he related to Fidel? But I couldn't get the question on the air.
Only on his mother's side.
Did you go through what Warren wants, though? I copied it down. She wants to get rid of oil companies, get rid of all the drug companies, and she wants to get rid of all the private insurance.
Who's that?
Warren.
Yeah, she's
Did
got
you
a
listen?
plan.
I
For
took
God's
notes.
sakes, look, Elizabeth Warren, folks, is sitting on 14 or 15 million conservatively. So when she talks about the rich, she's talking about herself, Paul. I mean, the hypocrisy is unbelievable.
So can I just,
Yeah, sure.
I just want to say that I actually would agree with Elizabeth Warren on the ultra big business. You know, big banks, big oil, big pharma. Too big is too big, and we should be doing something about that. After that, I can't agree with anything.
Except for
that
one
she talks
thing,
about.
Paul. She's in favor of big government, which is more dangerous than all the big ones you talked about.
Right.
okay?
Well, she wants big government to combat the big.
No,
big,
she
big,
doesn't.
big.
She wants big government for control of the people. So those G5 towers that you're talking about can get into our lives, and we can all become little drones for the elites.
Right.
That's exactly what she
Right.
wants.
There's too many oligopolies. I believe what Paul is saying is right. There's too much power in too few companies. Too much power.
When has
They
that
should
ever
be
been any
broken up.
different? You know, who broke that all up, Ralph?
That was,
Ronald
that was-
Reagan did it once?
No, it was
And
Teddy
Roosevelt did it.
Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt
The
did that.
trust
A
buster.
good Republican, right? He
What do they
broke
call
up
him?
for John D. Rockefeller.
The trust buster, remember that?
Yeah, he broke up all the oil
But look what
companies.
they did to AT&T.
That's right. Reagan did that.
The best part about that is, so AT&T got broken up into 7 or 8 different companies, right?
Yeah.
And 25 years later, they were all back in AT&T again.
Because they all planned it that way.
They all merged back. Now,
Okay.
I think my phone is AT&T,
Let's
my
get
cell
back
phone
to the
is
debate last night. The technical glitches were almost poetic justice. Okay? I mean,
so that didn't waste your time, huh? You
No.
probably enjoyed that part of it, right?
Oh, I couldn't hear him.
Right. During the Malcolm was enjoying the time when there wasn't any.
They had to go to commercial break.
Right.
because they were screwed up with their technical. So
It's 'cause-
I couldn't hear the background noise. Whatever they did, they just completely screwed it up. And by the way, I thought that Mr. Todd was arrogant.
Well, I think the fact of the matter is he is arrogant.
Okay.
That's his nature.
And he showed to be arrogant in the way he asked the questions. He was pontificating.
He's snooty.
Exactly.
It's a snot nose.
Now, ironically, and I was surprised by this, although you weren't, because you didn't even know about it until I mentioned it to you, that according to Drudge, the winner was Tulsi Gabbard. And not, overwhelmingly. Now, people say, well, it's not scientific. But she also got the most hits on Google afterwards.
Is an elegant,
and other
she's
independent,
beautiful.
but other polling gave her the big win, a big win.
And
So
who
she'll
the
get
hell
a
ever
bump.
heard of her? I never heard of the
Well,
woman.
she's like a senator from Hawaii or something.
She's a
right?
rep.
A rep.
But you thought you liked her persona.
She was the way she spoke and the way she answered the questions to the point with no grandiosity. It was she's got something going for herself. She's going to go far.
Okay, now let me finish this off. Everybody agrees that Beto was an absolute bust.
Oh, really? Truly.
Beto's finished. He looked
He
terrible.
didn't have enough room to flail his arms.
So they referred to his speaking in Spanish as spandering.
Well, there was a great
Pandering
quote.
to the Latinos.
How about Williamson? The lady's going to be on the stage tonight. She says, I hope I can learn Spanish in a day. And on this point, they did ignore Trump and Biden, didn't they?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I thought that
There was only one of the candidates that mentioned that Trump by name, and that was it. That was
was
the
it,
only
yeah.
one time.
I don't know if that's a mistake or not.
Biden got a pass, though, right? Essentially, right? Is that what you're saying?
Until
Until tonight.
Biden got a pass. No, I think that they would like. We're talking about when I say they, Believe me, that includes the Bushes and the Clintons, because there's no Mitt Romney had the audacity to come out the other day and call for an investigation of the claims from that cuckoo bird that Trump, 25 years ago or whatever, and some accosted her or whatever, right?
And it was in a very fancy department store, so that's got good taste.
Was it Castro that started speaking Spanish right away?
No,
he doesn't speak Spanish at all.
Beto.
Yeah.
Oh, so when Beto did it, Booker gave him a dirty look.
So
That's because he wanted to do it. He speaks Spanish too,
That's right, he
That
does,
was his game
Yeah.
plan.
He was the next one to answer a
He
question
did speak Spanish.
Yeah.
All right. Lawlessness in America. I bring
Like
this
to hear
up
him
because
speak
there's some
Scottish.
crazy stuff happening. And folks, you really
I'm so glad I'm not in politics anymore.
Right.
Just the stuff
He doesn't
that you
know
have
enough
the stuff
languages.
you have to do to.
Well, wait a minute. If you do not abide by your immigration laws, and on the stage last night, they pretty much said everybody, be lawbreakers, it's okay. And we have a DA that just got elected in Queens, in New York.
That's AOC's district.
They don't care if you shoplift. And in fact, the story Howie Carr said, which is fabulous, some guy just got out of prison, and he went out shoplifting, and he got grabbed by the cops, and he laughed at the cops and says, shoplifting's not illegal in Boston. He goes, that's true, but you're not in Boston.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Now, this is how insane it's gotten. If you take a look at the DAs across this country, in the major cities, they happen to be women of color, right? In Chicago, in Baltimore, and in Queens.
In Suffolk County.
And in San Francisco.
And that's right, and in San Fran.
That woman
And
in
this is where
Chicago.
we're having a lot of problems.
That woman Fox in Chicago. involved in-
Exactly.
What they're doing
Jesse
is they're
woman.
actually getting back at us.
Well, it's
For all
true.
the trouble they think we gave them for so many years, now they're saying now it's our turn to take care of you, Peel.
But they're
That's exactly
elected.
what-
They're elected on a very slim vote because very few people come out in the Democratic primary
This
where
was-
there are no Republicans, and they're supported by George Soros.
This was a special election in Queens. She only got 10%. I mean, there's only 10% of the vote came out, and she won. 10% of the vote she won.
But she contributes to the lawlessness.
Okay.
I mean, how the heck did the kid out there in Chicago, should he be in jail or not? Or he should pay some consequence? Jesse Smollett, right?
Yeah, now
I can
they've
never
got him
figure out
on
what's
video
going on
putting
with
a
that.
noose around his own
That
neck.
went over our heads because we have no idea what went on. And that was a backroom deal.
He was one of the
It was a backroom
protected
deal.
classes of the
But the
Democrats.
point
protect.
is,
That's why.
there was a different standard of justice for him.
Okay,
It was a
fine.
publicity
Hillary Clinton
stunt
was a
gone
different
bad.
standard of justice. How the heck are we trying to put Paul Manafort into solitary confinement in Rikers Island for doing what?
Because he's the wrong flavor.
Exactly. So lawlessness is happening, and it's unfair to these folks out here. And everybody says, well, the rich and the famous get away with it, which is true, but now it's beyond that. Now the average person doesn't get a fair shake.
Well, that's...
You know?
Well, how about the?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Irene.
How about that cartoon? I want to...
We're almost there.
Okay.
Okay. No, we have to move along here.
Excuse me, man. Sorry.
Now, here's an update on South Africa, folks, if we can put that up
I got
there.
to blow.
Here's a few facts, and we've been on this, as you well know, not in the mood. South Africa is close to a war zone. They have 57 murders a day. Murders in South Africa happen at 6 times the rate of the U.S. That's pretty bad. In South Africa, as we speak, the president and his party have vowed to move forward with a plan to amend the Constitution to allow for the seizure of farmland owned by white Africans to give land back to Africans. Just kill him, brother. A widow's harrowing story of South African farm attacks the media dismisses. Pedro, if we can put that up.
We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
All land in South Africa, all of it belongs to us, and all of it was stolen from us. And when I say us, I'm talking about black people in this country.
We've not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
I am a widow of a farm attack. Before the attack, we were a normal, happy family living on a small holding outside of Pretoria. We had 3 little girls, or have 3 little girls. They were aged 6, 4, and 2 years old. I was 8 months pregnant with our son at the time of the attack.
What I do remember as a child growing up on a farm is the fear about farm attacks. I remember lying in bed at night, hearing cracks outside, and it's just a branch falling off a tree, and you're absolutely convinced there's someone with a machete outside your window and he's about to hack you to death.
And as I sat up, the two attackers were standing at my feet with a gun pointed at me already. We fell asleep in the living room in front of the television, both my husband and myself and my 6-year-old daughter, my oldest daughter. They started screaming and shouting at us aggressively. My husband and I both explained to them that we do not have money in the house. If that is what they want, they can take anything of value, they can take anything they want if they just leave us unharmed. He was our breadwinner, he was the father of my children, he never got to meet his unborn son. And now I'm left to be the mommy, the daddy, the provider. And some good has to come from this bad.
There's a climate in South Africa in which violence is romanticized actively, even up to the state president, and it's romanticized and it's encouraged.
The white minority which took our land by force. You must say enough is enough. We are taking the future into our own hands. Shoot to kill, kill our. Shoot to kill, Yamasa. Kiss who? The farmer. White man, red rascal. All of you, you must die.
The taking of land from the indigenous people of this country was the original sin.
The government dismisses it. The government denies that it's happening. Our own president came to New York in September, and he stated in an interview with Bloomberg,
There are no killings of farmers or white farmers in South Africa. There's no land grab in South Africa. We are involved in a process of discussing land reform.
We don't have the luxury anymore of standing by and watching and hoping that things would get better. You have to become involved in some way, and that's how I became involved with AfriForum. We completely regard ourselves as Africans. We have no other home. I've been to Europe. I didn't feel like I went home. I've been to the US. I love the people in the US, but we're not Americans, we're not Europeans, we're Africans. So there are people leaving the country, there are many people leaving the country, but the vast majority would stay behind. And the Afrikaners, as they are known today, or the Boers, as they are known across the world, regard themselves as Africans, and we need to find a solution for our problems in Africa. Leaving the country is only making it worse for those who stay behind, and it's not going to solve the problem, it's only making it worse.
I was born in South Africa. South Africa is my home. My family, for many generations, have lived in South Africa.
Harrowing, isn't it?
That's, to be frank with you, that ruined my night.
Sorry if that did.
Really, that is absolutely an absolute abomination. And to be quite frank with you, the thing that you're only talking about it and the rest of the world is not saying a damn thing about it is unbelievable, because that is blatant murder. And you know what's going to happen to them in the long run? They're going to put South Africa in the toilet.
Yeah.
The
worst part is the denial that is taking place.
It's not denial, it's bloody lying.
Yes, exactly.
And it's funny how no one helps them out. I think the Boers were Dutch, originally. Weren't they Dutch?
Yes.
Why doesn't the Netherlands go to NATO and say, we need help down there?
I'll
Let's
tell
send
you
some
what,
troops.
Putin did. Putin, 15,000 of them have immigrated to...
South Africa?
No, the South Africans have gone to Russia.
Okay.
And,
I see. Okay, all right.
And by the way, they were denied refugee status in Canada, which is a Commonwealth nation,
Right.
and the United States State Department under Obama looked the other way.
Okay.
Right.
That's simple.
And you never hear about it, except where do you hear about it? Except here on Frankly Speaking and maybe Tucker Carlson. You don't hear it anywhere else.
Well, there are a lot of issues that we try to get to you folks. I hope you like that. We got to move on to a couple of things. Paul had to leave. He's a very busy guy. He does a heck of a job down in English. I love teasing
Very
him,
demanding
but he's
job.
a really a decent human being. Speaking of decent human beings, we got an original Avram, and if we can throw that original cartoon up and speak to us on it.
Once again, you know, our producer Pedro even said to me that this guy who makes these cartoons is extremely talented. This is my beloved friend Hirsch Goldman. I just spent the last 2 weeks for the Sabbath in Brookline. I had no idea that the security, it's so bad there that the police department is actually making us pay $250,000 for protection. We now have, and if you see this cartoon, new safety standards for places of worship. Like you see a lifeguard warning, no armed lifeguard on duty, pray at your own risk, because that's basically what we're doing. The security in Brookline now is so incredibly tight that there are two armed guards for every synagogue. I think there's 10 synagogues in Brookline. That's the first part of the deal. The second part of the deal is there's a combination on every single door, and the combination changes every day.
Really?
And the instructions are written in Hebrew, because they figure if you can't read Hebrew, you don't need to go.
Who's making you pay $250,000? I understand. Brookline? City of Brookline?
The city.
To offset
And
the
besides
cost of the
that,
police department.
2 nights ago, I'm at a friend's house. I never watch the news especially, and there's a rabbi in Brookline who I know very well, Rabbi Rudansky, saying that he's asked every single member of his synagogue to bring a gun to the synagogue.
So I'm assuming that they're for the Second Amendment then.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Pedro, could you do me a favor? Could you put that cartoon back just one more time so I can show him something?
Thank you.
Thank you. Hirsch Goldman has a knack for taking a blank piece of paper and putting something on it that like just smacks you right in the face, because you have no idea. In my life, I never thought in America that all my family came to for protection would someday need protection here.
You should never have a situation where you have to have armed guards in a place of worship.
It's unbelievable.
It's happening not
Not just the Jewish community,
That's
but
true.
all over.
Every community,
Yeah, but-
Muslims, blacks too.
Right. It's people of faith are being vilified by a secular state. Why don't you? Look, can't we be honest about stuff? There is a battle going on between those who want to destroy church, religion, and family in order to have control. It's to that. You know, here's what's sad. Folks, you know, I had lawlessness in there. A twin sister murdered her own twin sister the other day, stabbed her to death. That's not the only time. Another twin boy, 13 years old, did that to his sibling, his twin. Okay? This is what's happening in America. Did you hear? In the news. There was a woman who was beaten brutally by a 13-year-old boy, bully, of her son, right? Screaming and yelling,
today.
Send your kid back to Mexico. What kind of world is this?
We have less and less people believing in God, less and less people going to church, less people attaching themselves to any religion. And when you have that, that's what happens.
Isn't it the glue of society?
It absolutely is the
Don't
glue.
I mean, whether I look at the Old Testament has the Ten Commandments, correct? Are there any difference between the Ten Commandments and the Christian Ten Commandments?
No. It's the same
Or
thing.
for that matter, the Islamic Ten Commandments, or for that matter, any religious organization that's fundamentally the Codes of Hammurabi?
As upset I am about what's going on with amongst my own people, watching that woman in front of her with 4 kids,
Exactly.
having 2 men come into her house.
But what about
and
the
shoot her.
chanting? What about the almost implicit approval of that?
Oh, that's like
This is taking place worldwide, and we better do something about it in a hurry. Otherwise, it implodes. I want to get to comments. We have a few minutes left. We're going to get to comments because a couple of them are, Tom Fenton said something interestingly about getting rid of the DACA kids, the illegals. He said it would be logistically overwhelming. I tend to agree with that, by the way. And then I wrote back to him, and I will to anybody else who comes up with comments. And that's that. Now, Greg Haas, would you read that for me, Malcolm?
I can't say I'm in favor of it, but people can't say it doesn't affect anything either. When people want to go to the U.S. from other countries and can't, it doesn't seem to fair of those who are in these countries who do the right way are also being mistreated.
Anybody disagree with that?
No, it's true.
No, it's right to the point.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, this is for you, my friend.
Oh.
What did Walter Carlton have to say?
Oh, Mr. Jewish guy, hope he is
thank you.
well.
Walter Carlton, I missed you too.
The talk about how
Thank
China
you.
is treating its people is sickening. So important to keep our freedom here in good old USA. So many don't realize how we could lose it. That's
Yeah,
true.
we're going to keep talking about
Very,
that, by the
very
way.
true.
We're going to stay on top
Freedom
of the
is
China
very
thing.
true. The China,
Right.
yes.
So China, South Africa, the United States, why don't we become like the mavens of justice?
Right. We should.
Let's talk about humanity.
Right.
What's the right thing to do? You were sickened by the pictures, the images of a father and a young child.
Oh, man,
in
that
the
is,
river.
if that was put on national news, there'd be an outpouring.
All right. And you too. And
Yeah,
you too.
it was on national news.
Yeah?
No, I didn't
Yes.
see it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It was?
It was all over the place.
Really?
Yep.
Well, thank God, because that has to be seen. Now, we're not going to be here next week. Folks, I know you're going to miss us, but we're not going to be here. 4th of July, I'm going to be there with my family enjoying. And by the way, I love family. Thank you, family. I love you all.
That's very nice.
Yes.
You have a very nice family.
I do, and thank God for that.
All of you do, probably.
And,
What will our fans do next Thursday? What are they going to do, though? They'll show the best of
Oh, they're going to go to the
Frankly Speaking.
fireworks.
Won't they?
Yeah?
No,
The
they got to
fireworks?
watch us, the best of Frankly Speaking, and then they can go to the
Well,
fireworks.
this is the pre-fireworks.
The greatest hits of Frankly Speaking.
Yeah, that's about 2. But, folks, you've really been great. We like hearing from you, and you've been very supportive. And I hope that we're bringing stuff to you that you don't normally get anywhere. And
And everybody have a really safe, enjoyable holiday.
that's interesting. That's a good
Absolutely.
point. Yeah.
And go on
Watch-
Facebook. Anything you want to say, go on Facebook if you want us to talk about
And
something.
talk
go on
about your
Facebook.
podcast one more time.
Oh, the podcast.
Oh, you want me to promote my podcast?
Yeah, seriously.
Let's put up the podcast if we go quickly. Pedro, then we're off to see the wizard, I guess. Here we go. Over the Top, by the way, that was named by Avram, gave us that name. Bill Manul and I, we're going to be there weekly, and you tune into MSO News Sports at www.newsports.com. Put in the search engine, put in Over the Top, and bingo, whatever one we have is there. And you can do it. And by the way, let me update you. I am learning how to upload, frankly speaking, onto YouTube. So
Really?
after tomorrow.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and you're
God.
all going to be able to
Whoa.
get YouTube back on YouTube, frankly speaking.
So many people ask me, how do you get, if
gonna
you
get
say
it.
YouTube, it's so easy, because everybody knows how to go to
Yeah,
YouTube.
Yeah.
Not Cactus or whatever.
Well, that's going to happen because I'm going to do it by
Castles.
next week. Well, by the time we get back, we'll be on YouTube.
All right.
Okay? And we'll have the best while we're gone.
Right.
For you folks out there, have a terrific and healthy
Shalom.
Have a great 4th of July.
Yes.
And thank you, Reb Goldman.
That's all, folks.